Now, some of you were here at the early service, so you knew what was coming. Merry Christmas, friends.
Merry Christmas.
There, now we've got it. That's a little better. It's a bit of an extra special Christmas Eve this year as we gather together, friends and family, to light candles, to celebrate once again God's presence in the world. You may know that tonight is also the first night of Hanukkah, and it doesn't happen very often when Christmas Eve and the first night of Hanukkah overlap. And so our Jewish brothers and sisters are also gathering with friends and family tonight to celebrate with candles and to remember that God shows up in unusual ways. And they, like us, are remembering God's surprising presence through an unusual light. A light that in their Hanukkah story burned even when it should have gone out, day after day, night after night, for 8 nights. God kept showing up. And in our Christmas story, we tend to think about the unusual Christmas light where God shows up in the world being the Christmas star. But if you were listening carefully, you noticed there's no star in this story. The star is in Matthew's gospel. And we're not going to read that for 2 more weeks when our kids do it in our Epiphany pageant. But over the last couple of weeks, there's been a line in this Luke story from the 2nd chapter that's really been working on me, and one I had never really paid much attention to, and honestly, not really thought much about. It's the line that George read, where it describes the angel showing up and surprising the shepherds, and the storyteller writes, "The glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified." The glory of the Lord shone around them. That's the line that's been on my mind. What in the world does that mean? The glory of the Lord shone around them. What in the world is that? And maybe it is a big light that shows up with this big scary angel that's surrounded and illuminated. Did it light up the angel? Did it light up the shepherds? I don't know. I've only read it in about 10 different translations trying to figure it out. Is it the storyteller's version of Matthew's unusual Christmas star? Whatever it was, it scared the daylights out of those silly old shepherds. And over the last couple of weeks, I've really been doing my research and trying to figure out and understand what this line means. That the glory of the Lord shone around them. What was this that scared the angels so? Or scared the shepherds so? Probably scared the angels too. And you know, in all of this, this line has become my new favorite line in the Christmas story. Because after all of the reading and thinking and studying I've done around trying to figure out this line, I still don't know what in the world it means. The glory of the Lord shone around. And here's why that seems important to me. Because we tend to like a tangible thing that we can point to and say, that's what it means. We're looking for something specific, like an angel, or a star, or even candles that stay lit against all odds for 8 days. Or even a human baby in an ordinary manger. Seems like that's relatable. That if Jesus was once an ordinary baby just like I was, and if God could guide him in extraordinary ways, now that's an example that I can get my head around. That's something that makes sense. But it seems that this glory of the Lord thing is a little bit more ambiguous. And it seems that perhaps the scripture writer did that so that it doesn't lock us in. That maybe it allows us to broaden our perspective about the ways in which God shows up, so that we can allow the glory of the Lord to show up in our own ordinary lives, in whatever way we need, in order for us to recognize it, so that we can find ourselves in our own modern day Christmas story, finding extraordinary divine energy in ordinary places, in our ordinary lives. Divine energy that shows up, and you know it. And sometimes it scares the daylights out of you. And maybe it should. And I think what it really means, the glory of the Lord shown around, is that for all the thinking and planning and doing that we try to do at Christmas, the glory of the Lord is the one place that we can't quite point our finger and say that. Because we can't see it, and we can't really touch it, and we can't really make sense of it. We can only feel it. The glory of the Lord is something that you have to feel. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just on Christmas Eve. The glory of the Lord shows up in all kinds of places. And Christmas happens. Whether it's in December or July, Christmas happens anytime we are so aware of the divine presence in our lives that the glory of the Lord shows up in our hearts. We feel Christmas. And so my prayer for us this Christmas, my prayer for you, is that you find yourself at some place, in some way, over this Christmas season, standing in the glory of the Lord, and it inspires you. Inspires you and encourages you to be an extraordinary child of God. An ordinary baby. An ordinary baby is what we celebrate on this night. An ordinary baby that each and every one of us once was. With extraordinary opportunity, extraordinary possibility, each of us is a child of Christmas. And the glory of the Lord shines around us day after day after day, all year long. And maybe, just maybe, even on Christmas. May it be so. May it be so for us.